Okay, last time guys we did a story map of the first part of the story. So today what I want us to do is to do another story map for the second part of the story to the end. So if you remember at the end of the last part, Scruff could smell an awesome smell. So I'm going to write awesome smell at the very beginning. Awesome smell. Now because he could smell this really awesome smell, he started to dig, didn't he? So he started to dig down. So I'm going to do a little hole to show he's digging. And I like the words that they used in the story there, because they said digging, but they also said down deep, because he did have to dig really far down, deep underground. Okay. When he carried on digging deep underground, he came across some bones. So let's draw a bone to remind us. There we go. I'm going to write the word bone. He finds bones. So let's write so right, while we're here guys, let's just focus on that word. Now when we have an the other side of the O with a consonant in the middle like that, it changes our O sound, so it's not bonds to O. It makes the capital letter sound because of the the other side, so bones. And if you remember, he found different kinds of bones. He said mighty bones. Mighty bones. He said twig bones. So some were really small as twigs. So twig bones. And some funny bones. That reminds me of the story we've had before called Funny Bones. And some were the size of, can you remember from the story, the size of trees, so really huge bones too, so all different bones. Now he thinks this is really exciting. He's going to need a bit of help because there's lots and lots of bones, so he goes to fetch the other dogs. So let's write other dogs. Do you remember at first they didn't want to come? They didn't want to get messy, do you remember? I'm going to do some little dogs. Now these are going to be a bit rubbish because I'm going to do them quick. You can make them a little bit more fancy if you want, but remember this is just to remind us of the story. It doesn't have to be perfect. And also, do you remember they didn't want to come at first, and then when they heard it was bones, they soon decided that they did want to come. So, and that's because all dogs love bones. So let's have the other dogs there, and then we carry on. And then they said that there was 100 bones. Do you remember? So we'll write 100 bones and maybe another little picture of a bone to remind us, or maybe a couple. I'm not drawing 100, guys. I'll be here all day, won't I? Oops. Funny one there, Miss Langley. Okay, and then they decided they needed to find out what these bones were. And one of the dogs knew where to go. So they jumped onto the underground, didn't they? So I'm going to write underground to remind me. And then I'm going to draw an underground train. Oh, it's going to be a bit rubbish, guys, sorry. There we go, a bit like that. There's my underground train. Then they went from there, they went overground, so they were doing some walking. Let's just do some footprints for walking. And I'm going to put overground. Then from there they went on a double-decker bus. Do you remember? So I could draw the bus. There's the bus. Let's do the windows of the bus to remind us. There we go. And then they got to the Natural History Museum. It looked quite a fancy building, so let's just go like this. We'll make it look quite fancy. Oh, my dog's sneezing. And we'll do the door, and we'll write Natural History Museum. Oh, museum. Okay, my dog and my cat are both making noises. And then when they were there, they met somebody. Do you remember? They met Professor Dynofsky. Let me just pause it and let my dog out, guys. Okay, so the dog's outside. My dog's probably heard what we're talking about, gone to dig for some bones. So here's Professor Dynofsky, so we need to write his name. So Professor Danovsky, and he knew all about the bones. Do you remember? And he said, actually, he said some really cool things because he was really, really amazed by all the bones. So he said some really great words, which we'll come to in a second, because he said, in fact, do you know what? I'm going to move it up a tinsy bit, guys. I'm going to write them down here. He said, extraordinary. Extraordinary. And he said, magnificent. Magnificent. I'm going to give you these in a word bank again, guys. And he said amazing, because he was really astounded by all these bones that the dogs had found. And they said it was the most ferocious dinosaur ever found. Do you remember ferocious? Most ferocious dinosaur ever found. Now, because it was the most ferocious dinosaur ever found and the dogs were so clever to find all those bones, our Scruff got really, really famous. So from there, they gave him an award, do you remember, which looked a little bit like one of the dog's collars that like his friends have got, and it was presented to him. I'll have to show you in a minute on that page. I didn't realise till, let me go and get it, till I was looking. Oops, come back here. I didn't realise, guys, but the person who gave him the award, I think, was the Queen. Because if you look here, look, it says Top Digger, and there's some dogs called Corgis who've got crowns on their collars. And I think this was the Queen who gave him this award for Top Digger. So I'm going to draw a little medal, because he got a lovely medal, and also he got his picture in a newspaper. So I'm going to draw a picture of a newspaper and do squiggles for writing. Oh, I forgot to write here. On his medal it said Top Digger. So I'm going to write Top Digger. I might write the word newspaper just to remind me, newspaper. All my pets are coming out today. I think they're a bit excited by our story. I can hear the cat meowing now. Now, at the very, very end, do you remember something lovely happened? Because at the beginning of our story, our little dog Scruff was a stray. He didn't have any owner. But after all of this, do you remember what happens? He gets to stay with Professor Danovsky. Professor Danovsky adopts him as his little pet. So I'm going to draw a little picture of our dog and our Professor Danovsky. And there's his little, the little ears and some legs. And I'm going to put a little house around them because I want to show that he now becomes Professor Danovsky's pet. So it was like a happy ending. And then, if you remember, he still got to do what he liked doing. What was his favourite thing to do? You've guessed it, digging. And we talked about how we thought that Professor Danovsky could be a paleontologist because he obviously discovers dinosaur bones. So it was a really happy ending in the end. Okay, I would like you to do your own story map for the second part of the story. Pop in a couple of words if you need to, but Miss Lang is going to give you these on a word bank, and then you can use the word bank and your story map to write in sentences, please, the second part of the story. Don't forget to show them to Miss Langley by popping them on the class notebook or posting them or emailing them to me. That would be lovely to see how we've got on. Okay? Work hard for me. Speak to you later, guys.